here at Douglas Charles Airport.
And for people who understand the airport, he landed on the B90927 side. That is to say, he landed from the seaside. The American airline landed from the seaside. And as you can hear from the distance, the flight is coming in. And as we speak, I must say to you that as we speak, as we speak, Curtis, that we've seen quite a number of the ministers of government are actually here. If not all of the ministers of government are here, and those who are in Dominica, those are in state, and we've seen quite a number of people already, Curtis, in the airport area to give welcome to the Honorable Prime Minister and his delegate.
Right, so Cecil, we can see the plane just a few feet away from us here at the Douglas Charles Airport. This is the plane on which the Prime Minister has arrived. We waited for that moment yesterday. Inclement weather prevented that from happening, but one is certain that the Prime Minister is here, has landed here at the Douglas Charles Airport.
And it is an exciting moment. The envoy, actually, the envoy, American airline, I can tell you, really and truly, quite a number of people who are actually listening to us are excited and to hear what the Honorable Prime Minister has to say later today, because it's a moment really for him, as I always say, that he has made Dominica proud, not only in Dominica, not only in the region, but in the international world. And today we saw the region themselves are actually applauding the work of Roosevelt Skerrit.
Right, so we are making our way towards the plane, and our technician will tell us that we are okay from that angle. So Cecil, what is happening now? The plane has landed. What is going to happen very soon is the officials, dignitaries, will be very close to the plane, of course, and they will be meeting the Prime Minister before he does anything.
And we are seeing the officials of the airline actually making preparation for the disembarkment of the Honorable Prime Minister and his delegates and all other persons who are actually coming on that flight from Miami.
Right, the Prime Minister of Dominica, the Honorable Roosevelt Skerrit, he led that delegation to Cuba a few days ago. So we would expect that these people would be part of this this party arriving in Dominica this morning. So Cecil,
and we have to say that the government of Dominica congratulates the Prime Minister of the Commonwealth of Dominica, the Honorable Dr. Roosevelt Skerrit, on the conferment of the order of Jose Marti, the highest Cuban, I should say, recognition that can be given to any individual from Cuba, in Cuba.
That is the moment that we have been waiting for, to see the arrival of the Prime Minister, and of course it has happened here at the Douglas Charles Airport, and we certainly are here to cover this live here at the Douglas Charles Airport, and it's the moment. Many of the government ministers, Cecil, if not all, are here to see the Prime Minister arrive here in Dominica.
I am sure all, because when I actually was in the area where they were, and every one of them are actually here with him, and to really welcome him, to say to him that we appreciate the work that you are doing, we appreciate the things that you have been doing for Dominica, and that the world has recognized the work that you have done. And today we have seen in the region, Cuba has done it also. We saw some years ago in 2018 where India did it, and also we saw in 2016 thereabout, we saw in the state of Pennsylvania where they were able to recognize the work of Roosevelt Skerrit.
Right, so Cecil, if you look at the government ministers, they are standing in the area where we are. We can see them
in a horizontal position.
They are preparing to meet and greet the Prime Minister. The government ministers, they're all together in a huddle, so to speak, and they are preparing to meet the Prime Minister of Dominica, the Honorable Dr. Roosevelt Skerrit.
And the last time that we were here was December 8th to see the flight of American airline coming to Dominica, the inaugural flight coming into Dominica, December 8th. And we are seeing today the Honorable Prime Minister using that same flight to get into Dominica after receiving this recognition in Cuba.
This is by no means the first award for the Prime Minister of Dominica. He has received some international awards over the years, and but one wonders, how does he feel about this one in particular, having gone to Cuba to receive this award? We will have to find out, I'm sure, a little later on during the news conference. How does he feel about this particular award? Is this the biggest one as far as he's concerned?
And we are seeing now some of
Yes, here's the Prime Minister.
He gets out, the first coming out from the airline, from the airplane. We are seeing the Chief of Police along with the senior, Mr. Reginald Austri, Senior Minister, and a number of other ministers of government meeting him. And also too, we have a horizontal line with the other ministers of government to really welcome the Honorable Prime Minister into Dominica.
So the Prime Minister has actually left the plane and he is walking towards the airport, and will be greeted very, very soon. Within the next minute or two, we'll be greeted by his ministers. I'm sure the very first people to greet the Prime Minister, of course, will be his ministers. Here am I seeing now. I'm seeing the Prime Minister. I'm seeing him. He's heading towards the government minister. So Cecil, what a moment. Right, so many of the camera people, they've gone to the plane. Here is the Prime Minister now heading towards his ministers. And Cecil, what a moment this is.
And it is a moment. We see Senior Minister Reginald Austri walking along with him. He looks very military in his walk, I must say. And his wife is also has met him. And he's meeting his other ministers of government. Curtis?
Yes, I see the Honorable Rayburn Blackmore is there in the party from the government. I also see the Minister for Health, Dr. Irvin McIntyre.
And the applause are coming on now. So I can imagine the people outside who waiting on his entrance here today will also give him some huge applause. And at 5 o'clock this afternoon at the stadium, the forecourt, that he will also be there, where he'll be meeting his supporters and well-wishers.
So while this is a government function, they want to take place at the stadium forecourt.
It will be a party.
It will be a Dominica Labour Party event taking place later today. You said 5 o'clock.
5 o'clock, you know. And I'm sure that there was a very huge crowd yesterday waiting him. Unfortunately, it was not possible. Today will be possible because he has arrived. And at 5 o'clock at the forecourt at the stadium, the Prime Minister will be meeting his huge supporters. And you have just seen, give a hug to his permanent secretary, Missy Henderson. And now he's making his way now closer to us. Really tall guy. Military steps,
elegant as he
always, you know,
as he moves towards our area, Cecil.
Yes.
It appears that he's going to pass directly where we are standing.
Yes.
So he's walking with his wife Melissa, the Honorable Reginald Austri at his side, and the other government ministers to follow. Cecil, if you know me well, I will try to have a word with the Prime Minister.
I know you're going to.
I know he's going to a press conference. But Cecil, I'm just going to say good afternoon. We are live on the radio. I have to say good afternoon to the Prime Minister. Mr. Prime Minister, good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon, good afternoon.
What is the feeling like having landed here at Douglas Charles Airport?
Well, I'm always happy to be back home to continue working. But I'm happy to be back. We had the issue of the weather yesterday, but that's life. But I'm here safe and sound.
All the best. You're going to a press briefing in a while. I'm very sure we will be asking you a few more questions. So, Cecil,
as we
the other government ministers are walking. Mr. Blackmore, good morning to you. How are you doing, Mr. Blackmore?
Good morning, how are you doing?
What is the occasion like for you as minister?
What I think, elated. I'm very happy for the Honorable Prime Minister. And of course, Dominicans by extension. I think it's all of us most proud. And of course, what the Prime Minister stands for. It's consistent with what Mr. Marti stood for, liberating the people of Cuba. And from a Dominican perspective, therefore, when you think of some of the things done within the leadership of the Labour Party, providing scholarship for the downtrodden, providing homes for the downtrodden. And I think that's, of course, exemplified the kind of work that the Labour Party has on the leadership of.
This appears to be an emotional event. I look at the faces of some of the ministers. Is it a very emotional event?
Well, yeah. I mean, in fact, it's, of course, because of course, what has transpired there is some form of vindication for the Prime Minister. He has been vilified so much and so many times, therefore, and to be consistently recognized by, of course, to doctorate degrees, of course, and now with this highest order, to be bestowed by the Cuban government onto him. I think that in itself demonstrates the level of significance to that event, and that is why Laborites and Dominicans alike must be emotional about it.
Thank you very much. Cecil, we're heading now to the press conference.
Yes, where the Prime Minister will be speaking, and I'm sure he's going to tell us of his feelings. And you could sense, Curtis, when you were speaking with him, that he was very emotional.
Yeah, he was.
You could sense it from his eyes.
Yes. And
emotional.
And some other government ministers.
Yes, it's a proud moment for Dominica, a proud moment for us as a people and the Caribbean to receive an award from a group, a country, a people, who has recognized the work that Roosevelt Skerrit has been able to do for Dominica.
Right. So we are getting set now for the press briefing, and right. So we are getting set for the press briefing. It's over now to Dion Dura.
Honorable Roosevelt Skerrit, Prime Minister of the Commonwealth of Dominica, and Mrs. Melissa Skerrit, Parliamentary Representative for the Rosa Central Constituency. Honorable Joseph Isaac, Speaker of the House of Assembly. Honorable Reginald Ostry, Senior Minister and Minister for Housing and Urban Development. Other honorable members of Cabinet, members of the Diplomatic Corps, Ms. Karen Prevost, Cabinet Secretary, Ms. Dennis Edwards, the Financial Secretary, permanent secretaries, members of the media, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon and welcome. Prime Minister, a special welcome to you and congratulations on being awarded the Order of Jose Marti on Tuesday. On Tuesday, April 26, by the government and people of the Republic of Cuba. Congratulations, Prime Minister, and welcome home. During this afternoon's brief ceremony, we will hear from the Senior Minister, Honorable Ostry, and the Prime Minister, who will brief us on his official visit to Cuba. Following this, we will take questions from members of the media who are here with us. I now call on the Honorable Ostry to deliver remarks.
Thank you very much. Pleasant good morning to all. Honorable Prime Minister Roosevelt Skerrit and Mrs. Skerrit, Speaker of the House of Assembly, Joseph Isaac, other honorable members of Cabinet, members of the Diplomatic Corps, Cabinet Secretary, Ms. Prevost, Financial Secretary, Mr. Edwards, other permanent secretaries, members of the media, Dominicans listening both here and abroad, members, supporters, and friends of the Dominican Labour Party, ladies and gentlemen. In my 30 or so years as being a member of Parliament, I can confess that this is one of the most emotional moments I've experienced in my entire sojourn. I've worked with the Prime Minister for the last 16 years as Prime Minister, and though he has received many accolades, 2 doctorates, and accolades via media and from international organizations via press releases. But to me, this one stands out, not as a crowning moment of his career, because we expect him to receive many more as he continues to work in the interest of humanity, both here and throughout the entire world, but because this is coming from a nation that is recognized by the international community for its hard work, its dedication, and its cause to humanity. I want to welcome, well, this is not a doctorate, so I was going to add the 3rd doctor to it, but that's not a doctorate. But I want to welcome you back home, sir, and to say to you that the people of Dominica were in great anticipation of your arrival. Even while still in Cuba, the congratulatory message. the congratulatory messages, and the whole media bliss was as powerful as it could ever get.
If you are at the airport, please identify yourself to the check-in counter agent. Once again, this is a PH for passenger Leah Little, traveling American Airlines 59631, so this is to Miami. If you are at the airport, please identify yourself to the counter check-in agent. Thank you.
Prime Minister, you'd be surprising to know the caliber of people who understood the reason why you were awarded this very prestigious title. The ordinary man on the ground, the ordinary man throughout the rural communities, the ordinary man who felt that he would never have had a place in this society had it not been for your love, your care, and your intervention. And equally so, you'll be surprised to know that persons who you believed would know, persons who were supposed to know, and the cold water that they seem to have poured on this very important accolade. But I can say to you, Prime Minister, that the voices of the less fortunate were much stronger than the voices of those who didn't want to see this happen. And so, Prime Minister, you're coming back to a country where the people understand the value of having you as a Prime Minister of Dominica. Well, like I said, people who had no voice, people who had no homes, people who had no access to decent health care, people who had no access to education, they're the ones who are really enjoying this moment because they know what it means to them. And they know that had it not been for you, they would have never been given such an opportunity. Cuba, as I've said, has made its mark on world history, has survived over 50 years of embargo, and yet still have been able to prove to the world that in spite of the embargo, by the resilience of the people, by the zeal of the people, by decent and solid leadership, that they have basically conquered and overcome most of the challenges. They still have a long way to go. And they having chosen you for this prestigious award, it means, Prime Minister, that you have earned it and you have done exceedingly well. And in that regard, you can be likened to the people who have received this before you. Great world leaders. And so you have now joined the ranks, Prime Minister, of a great leader that history will record that you probably have been one of the greatest leaders to ever serve in the Caribbean region. Prime Minister, there is still a lot more work to be done. And as a member of your cabinet, and speaking on behalf of your cabinet colleagues, I want to pledge our unwavering support to you as you seek to improve the lives and the destiny of the people of this country. May God continue to bless you, Prime Minister, and may you continue to be with us. There's still a lot of work to be done. And we know that one of those days you will have to call it quits. But as far as I'm concerned, that time is still in the distant future. Thank you very much, PM. This award is not only yours, but it's an award for the country. And I dare say that the eyes of the world, those that were still closed, will now open up to find out who is this leader from this small, tiny, unknown country who can rise to be counted among some of the greatest leaders this universe, this planet have ever seen. Thank you, Prime Minister. May God continue to bless you and bless your family for the support that they have given you along this journey. And may your life be lengthened and your vision and your wisdom continue to grow, that you can take this country to a much better place. Thank you. God bless you.
Our thanks to Honorable Austri for his remarks. And at this time, I ask you to join me as we invite and welcome the Honorable Prime Minister, the recipient of the Order of Jose Marti, to address us.
The reality is, those who know me very well would know that I would have come in quietly and simply head home, you know. But I want to thank all of you for being here. I want to recognize our senior minister, Honorable Reginald Ostry, our Speaker of the House of Assembly, Honorable Joseph Isaac, and of course all of my cabinet and parliamentary colleagues who are present here, members of the Diplomatic Corps, Ms. Corinne Prevost, the Cabinet Secretary, Ms. Dennis Edwards, the Financial Secretary, permanent secretaries, members of the media, ladies and gentlemen, and of course Mrs. Durant Smith, our moderator. I want to thank all of you for the very warm welcome, and certainly it makes my homecoming all the more special and significant to be among you, my peers, who continue to stand firmly with me in the governance of our beautiful country, Dominica. Indeed, I feel a deep sense of honor and pride and a profound sense of humility to have received this award from the government and people of Cuba. The Order of Jose Marti holds immense significance for the people of Cuba, and I was humbled to be considered worthy of such a magnificent tribute. Jose Marti, the national hero of Cuba, embodied his country's fight for independence, for self-determination, and for the autonomy to map the destiny, free from the ties of the colonial past. After the 3 days spent in Cuba, I can tell you that the sentiments of pride and patriotism are as dominant in the Cuban people today as when Marti advocated for moral and ethical values, cultural enlightenment, and independence for Cuba in the late 19th century. The award was a resounding vote of confidence in my advocacy at the local, regional, and international levels to advance the freedoms of people everywhere. As an ardent advocate of wider regional integration, I have taken pride in helping to foster closer ties between CARICOM states and countries of Latin America. And the government of Dominica has certainly been consistent in our calls for the Cuban people and state to be allowed their rightful place, among our family of nations. I am gratified that I, and by extension the government and people of Dominica, have been recognized for our sincere efforts in that regard. The reality is, I accepted this award on behalf of every single Dominican. I grabbed the opportunity to express our profound gratitude for Cuba's deep and unwavering commitment to the well-being of the Dominican people. Cuba's economy, as we all know, has been severely impacted by the imposition of a 6-decade-long blockade by the United States. On behalf of the government and people of Dominica, I pledged our unwavering solidarity and support for Cuba in the international arena and for resolutions which advance the country's development and safeguard the rights and interests of the Cuban people. I give the President, His Excellency Diaz Bermudez, the assurance that we will continue to advocate for the normalization of relations with Cuba and the lifting of sanctions for enhanced peace, stability, and economic growth. Despite the substantial disadvantages of the economic embargo, Cuba continues to provide valuable support and assistance to Dominica and to many of our counterparts in the region. I refer to the many years of collaboration between our two states in the areas of education, health, culture, and social services. Through the Dominica-Cuba Scholarship Program, launched in November 1979, hundreds of Dominicans have received professional training in Cuba in various fields of study. The Cuban graduates are accredited as major contributors to Dominica's social and economic development and have changed the country's intellectual and professional landscape. Many Cuban graduates, among them doctors, vets, dental surgeons, foresters, agronomists, architects, and civil engineers, hold key positions within the private and public sectors in Dominica, while others are building careers in countries around the world. Several doctors currently on staff at our national hospital are Cuban trained, many of whom have pursued specialty degrees in the various arms of medicine and now form the pillar of our health system. Following the devastation of Tropical Storm Erica in 2015, Hurricane Maria in 2017, and now a global pandemic, Cuba has supported Dominica with the deployment of health professionals, including nurses, doctors, and lab technicians, to assist in the administration of care and the management of COVID-19. Last year, our respective ministries of health signed a new cooperation agreement, further cementing our long-standing collaboration in the areas of health and serving as another example of the excellent bilateral relations we enjoy. These contributions are indeed significant, and I assured the Cuban authorities of our commitment to even closer ties and collaboration in the areas of culture, education, health, agriculture, and disaster mitigation. We agreed to embrace an even brighter future for Cuba-Dominica relations. While in the Spanish-speaking country, the Dominican delegation met with a number of Dominican students, and I listened closely to accounts of their experiences. They were assured of our firm support as they continue to pursue studies, with hopes of returning to their home country to build progressive lives, assist their families, and contribute to national development. My dear friends, my focus as leader of this country remains on the creation of opportunities for all our people to thrive and achieve their dreams for better lives. Once again, I thank all of you for being here to offer your support. I feel your pride and the pride of the Dominican people in this honor that has been conferred on me. I must tell all of you that I am equally proud of you, of our collective efforts as a people and nation to confront adversity and emerge triumphant time and time again. Like the Cuban people, we have demonstrated that we are imbued with an enduring pride, determination, and an inner strength to succeed. I say to our young people in Dominica that your circumstance in life should not determine your future. You need to ensure that the opportunities that you have, you take advantage of it. You don't have to go look far. Look at Roosevelt Skerrit, and you will make a determination for yourself. And I say to my colleagues, we have work to do. Let us continue to work together to better the lives of the Dominican people. That's our mission, and that's our commitment. But we also have a commitment to the rest of the world to ensure that peoples everywhere of the world can be given a decent opportunity to a decent life. And I know tonight we will be at the stadium. And so at the stadium, I shall give a political speech. I shall give a political speech because there are some things I will say at the stadium I can't say here. But I am happy to be back here, and for me, it was a sense of profound humility. And I can say to the world that when I was informed by the Cuban authorities through the ambassador resident in Dominica that the president had issued a decree to bestow this on me, it took me a couple of days before I said yes to the ambassador. Because what I do is not for any recompense. I do it as a matter of principle. And I do it as a commitment, not only to our Dominican people, but to the rest of the world. And the Lord has placed me in a position, and that's what I'm doing to advance His work on earth. I say to everybody that I'm just an instrument doing the Lord's work, and this is what we continue to do. So I'm grateful to all of you for being here, and to show solidarity and to express your commendations. I thank you very, 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 very much and profoundly. Words cannot express my gratitude to all of you for coming here twice in the week. I know when we have to travel to do the trek to Douglas Charles is always a challenge, and to come here twice and so on. And I know that there are some elements in the society who are saying, oh, you know, he couldn't land yesterday and so forth. But sometimes people forget that there is a God, you know. you know, they look at things so narrow in their own narrow political person. The Lord decides. The Lord decided I had to come back to Dominica on Friday. And he caused me the plane to land this Friday. And I'm here in Dominica. But I will also say to them that the Lord will bless us with our international airport. So the more they talk is the greater motivation I get to even working harder for the greater good of Dominican people. So I like when they talk negatively sometimes, because as there's heaven, there's hell. As there's good, there's bad. We in this Labour Party will always stick to the side of good, so that when the Lord comes to judge the living and the dead, we can account for what we have done. And he will say, well done, good and faithful servants. Go to the pearly gates into heaven. Thank you. But this afternoon, I'll be in red this afternoon. So, thank you very much. Thank you.
Please fasten the strict enough in boarding classes on the 8 service flight number 392, destined to service at Antigua. Please proceed now to the departure lodge for security and immigration checks on the windshield boarding announcement. Fasten the strict on the 8 service flight number 392. You are kindly requested to proceed to the departure lodge. The open retention, the 8 service 392 will be landing in approximately 12 minutes. Thank you.
All right, well, if our listeners and viewers wanted any further proof that we are at an airport. All right, so Honorable Prime Minister, thank you so much for your remarks. And at this point, I'd like to invite the members of the media who are here to interact some more with the Prime Minister. You may pose questions to the Prime Minister about his official visit to Cuba.
Yes, thank you very much. Zion Dura. Curtis Marti from DBS Radio. My question for the Prime Minister is, Prime Minister, you've received several awards over the years. Where does this one fit in terms of importance as far as you're concerned?
Well, I appreciate every commendation. It could be from someone who I meet on the farm or I meet on the streets. You know, I appreciate this. As I said, we don't in the government, in the Labour Party, we don't do anything for any reward, any commendation. We do so because this is our duty, our obligation, and our commitment to the people. And our party has been founded on those principles. For one to appreciate this award, I mean, you have received one in our country, and I'm sure you understand. I'm sure you know how your family and everybody felt that you were recognized by your country. It is one thing also to be recognized by your country, but it's also another thing to be recognized by another country. And Jose Marti, if we read up on Jose Marti, we understand how the Cuban people, and indeed the entire Latin America, view Jose Marti for his fight for independence and justice and peace. And so Jose Marti is Cuba's national hero. He's revered among every Cuban national. And Cuba is made up of millions of people. And for a young boy from the village of Vacas to be recognized by the Cuban people in that regard certainly is something noteworthy. So it is certainly a huge accolade to have been bestowed upon me by the Cuban people.
Just a follow-up question, because Julian Morris will ask one in a while. How do you intend to use this award to further influence change in Dominica and the rest of the Caribbean?
Well, the award is a recognition of what we've been doing. Is a recognition of what we've been doing over the last 20 years. Our commitment to integration, to peace, to justice, is uncompromising. These are principles that we stand strong to. We don't negotiate in those principles. We negotiate words, as I keep saying, but we don't negotiate those principles. And every human being, that's what Christ lived for, to deal with issues of injustice and peace. And if we want, we have to seek to emulate those things. And so it certainly will strengthen my resolve to do this. People will know that when you stand on principle, sometimes you become a target. And I've become a target in many instances by, certain, what are you talking about, but that should not cause one to lose sight of his or commitment to this. So it is certainly going to strengthen my resolve for this. And so I thank the Cuban people for their recognition of the work that we have been doing, because I'm doing this work on behalf of the government of Dominica.
Prime Minister Skerrit, congratulations to you on this award. This award now places you in the ranks of Hugo Chavez, Nelson Mandela. This is a tremendous honor for you. Could you speak to the question of the fact that for a long time, in our small country, people tend to look outside for role models. But here you are. I mean, here you are. So we'll speak to this need for us to look around us and see what's there, especially in light of what you have accomplished now.
Well, we have to ensure first and foremost that we are committed to our country, and in a positive way. We hear people speak negatively of Dominica, but what is it going to achieve? We can criticize. There's a difference between criticizing and condemning or maligning. There are people out there who are maligning our country, our own country, the country that they live in, and they behave as if they're not part of Dominica. And so we have to speak to them. I will say to you that I came back from the United States in 1997, and I was so going back to the United States in 1998, having earned myself a scholarship from the World Bank, financed by the World Bank, to do a master's and a PhD in the United States. And I asked myself, when the people of Penville and Vickers and Tibo were asking me to contest, as you know, I was very young at the time. I'm still young today, so well, I was younger at the time. I would say I was younger at the time, and I asked myself a question. If I run and I lose and I move on, or if I don't run and I go out and do this PhD and come back, and the people are worse off, how would I be able to live among them? And I decided to give up the scholarship and to contest elections as my commitment to the people and my desire to make a contribution to, firstly, to my constituency, and secondly, of course, to Dominica. So life is about choices. You either choose to be positive or negative. You understand? Growing up, I don't drink alcohol, but I never used any form of drugs. So I never smoked marijuana or anything like that. Not that smoking something that's too bad sometimes. I think it's the abuse of it that's the problem, But you just have to make your contribution and do it positively, and always ensure that you do it not for yourself but for the people, because we here in the Labour Party, we are all in this because of the people. And this is why I say that when you look at the Labour Party, every one of my colleagues, everyone has made a sacrifice to be here. And in life, when you're serving people, you must show what sacrifice you're making. Because it is a vocation. It's not an everyday job. All of them will tell you that they never realized politics that way. They were school principals, doctors, and so on, lawyers, and so forth. They're business people. Because it is a completely different world in terms of your roles and functions and responsibilities. And so if you have not made a sacrifice, you will not seek to make people's life better. This is why the other side is not interested in anything constructive. They're not interested in any development. They don't empathize with people. Because empathy is the most difficult thing in life, you know. To relate to people's struggles and to see what you can do to make it better. That is the crux of the responsibility as a politician. And if all these guys are interested in is negative talk and destroying this and breaking down this, you know, so it tells you the clear difference between us and them. You have to be able to show what sacrifice you're making to represent people. And if you have made any sacrifice, if you wait until you retire, many years later, and you come in, or you were unemployed and you say, boy, let me see if I can get a job there, the first day we run, and let me see if I can, you know. And this is where the frustration comes from them, because they have not been able to articulate any real concern for the Dominican people. And therefore, the Dominican people do not trust them and cannot place their trust in them. And Dominicans know that in difficult times, once the fact that they know that Labour is in government, they feel a sense of comfort and peace. As a matter of fact, there are many United Workers' Party supporters who will tell you, albeit they may not say so in loud voices, will tell you, but it's a good thing Labour in government, because if it was our people there, would be in trouble. And that happened in Erica, it happened in Maria, and it happened during the pandemic. And so you have to be able to show what's sacrificing it. And because that's where the motivation is coming. The motivation comes from the fact that you view this as a vocation. And you can look at any of our colleagues and you'll see this.
You have gotten quite a bit of flack when it comes to the housing programs and the social programs specifically. Unfortunately, you have come in for a lot of criticism there. And one would say perhaps this award is perhaps a culmination of some of the things, the policies of your administration, what you've done. Could you speak to that?
But anybody who would criticize a government for creating a shelter for someone, or anybody who would criticize the government for putting clothes on people's backs, or anybody who would criticize the government who needs some help with some social intervention at any one time, has not been reading the Bible at all. Because at the core of this very important Bible, which is our guide to living good among people and our quest to go to a better place called heaven, speaks to not how many times we pray, how many times we go to church. It asks you whether you're your neighbor's keeper. It asks you, whether you're your neighbor's keeper, and what have you done for the least of my brothers? And what do they define as the things that you can do for the least of my brothers? Christ asked his disciples some parables, questions about being hungry, about being naked. And, what were their response? They thought that Christ was talking about himself. No, he said, not me. The list of them. And so for us in the Labour Party, this is not a political responsibility only. It is a biblical and Christian responsibility. And, yes, as time goes by, the programs will evolve. You learn more and you understand more, and it will evolve. You understand? But we have to understand the fact that we have a responsibility to enhance the dignity of the human person. And what do I say to an 84-year-old lady who is homeless? What do I say to her? Or these 6 families who we built homes for in Melvin Hall, in the Marigot constituency. One of the ladies there, she has about 7 or so children. And now she is in a 3-bedroom house in Marigot. And the children can do their homework. And so you see, they're so quick to criticize what's happening. They have not taken time, even those who are supposed to be better intellectually, to understand the impact of this housing or these social programs on the way of life of people. And the impact on health, the impact on education, the impact on people's mental state. And so this is why they criticize, because, as I said, they did not come to serve people. And if you do not come to serve people, you don't understand, you don't empathize with them. Empathy is a very difficult thing, because you have to stop and listen to people. You have to go to see where they live and where they work, and understand their condition. And when you go there and you see their condition, you must be able to define and devise a way to get them out of that situation. But these things must also be inculcated in you growing up. You know, something you can learn in school. You understand? It has to be part of you. And the same way I run the country, the same way I run my house. That when you come to my home, you will sit on the same table I'm sitting. And you will eat from the same plate I'm eating. There's no 2 different plates, no. And if you come to my home and there's food there and there's not enough, I'll let you eat first and then I will eat later. I may have to cook a second pot. That's how life was growing up with my grandmother and my aunt in Vegas. That when the strangers came, we treated them the best, irrespective of who the stranger was. So, being a member of parliament, being a minister is hard work. It is a 24-hour job. And these people are not ready for hard work. Walking the streets of Roseau, the most you can do is to lose a few calories, you know. There's nothing gonna, there's not much you're gonna achieve for yourself or anybody. You know, if you're talking about the environment and you want to help the environment, then go and clean the beach, go and plant trees. You know, go and clean the rivers. That's what the environment is about. Not walking in Roseau, loitering and littering in the city.
I just, before I turn the mic over, I just wanted to say to you, I find it fascinating that in 1972, the Jose Marti Award was instituted. And here you are, and I think that's the year, correct me if I'm wrong, that you were born. And here you are receiving this award. So I find this very fascinating. I'm not sure if you want to comment on that. It's not really a question, but I just wanted to put it out.
Well, yes, I was born in 1972. And I will hit the big 50 soon. And they say when you get to 50, you must celebrate. So I will have a few opportunities where people can celebrate and so on. At 50. Yeah.
Steve Vidal, Kyrie FM. Congratulations, Mr. Prime Minister. I'm trying to stick to Cuba. Can you update us on your discussions with the Cuban officials, maybe in a few minutes?
Yes, we had very good discussions with them. My colleagues with me led the discussions with their counterparts. In agriculture in particular, we're going to engage the Cubans in a very comprehensive program. As you know, we have set a target for ourselves in Dominica to increase the contribution of agriculture to the GDP from 300 or so, as it is now, to 700 million by 2030. And there are a number of actions we have identified in the cabinet that we need to take to get us there. And one of the things that is very important where agriculture is concerned, especially where tree crops, citrus, mangoes, avocados, etc., is with regards to the quality of the plant, propagation. And so we are going to be working with Cuba very closely because Cuba has great expertise and knowledge on propagation. So we're going to be getting a lot of support from them to relaunch, for want of a better word, our crop propagation program in Dominica. Because to achieve this $700 million, we really have to go the route also of using technology more. And we've articulated a number of initiatives, one of which is use young professionals in agriculture and targeting certain crops. The Cubans will also be coming to look at our abattoir and how we can enhance its capacity and its capabilities. So far they did a good job there, Mr. Etienne and others, but certainly we can do more. And so you can see how we can augment on this. So very soon they will send a team there to see what we have and look at what our resources they will need to send to us to help us advance the agricultural program there. It's very exciting there. And of course, area of health, Cuba is a major manufacturer of pharmaceuticals. And they also have gone very strong for the plant-based pharmaceuticals as well. And it's something that we'll be looking at engaging them on. And so there's a cooperation agreement to that. We have also been receiving about 5,000 doses of the Cuban vaccines. We're arranging for its transportation. And also issue of the environment. The Ministry of Environment, we've been talking in the Cabinet about launching a major reforestation program. And so we'll be getting some technical assistance from Cuba to assist us with the reforestation program, the replanting of trees and ensuring that our ecosystems can be protected and so forth. And as you know, we were severely affected, our forest, by the hurricane. So we have a lot of plans, but we now have to put the plan out on the reforestation program, but also the maintenance program as well. And so we're getting some assistance from Cuba with this as well. In regards to international airport, they'll also be we'll be engaging a lot of Cuban experts who will serve as governments advisors on a number of aspects of the airport construction. With regards to the lab and the soil testing, we'll also be getting engineers to oversee the quality of construction. So it's a whole set of opportunities there that we have discussed with the Cuban authorities. And at some point, the ministers who are with me will brief the press on more of the details in this regard. And I also met with the students. I met with the students. I know the FSs, yeah, and whenever she hears an increase, you know, but I give a commitment to the students that we will increase the stipend which government gives to them monthly in Cuba. To take into consideration inflation, etc. And no, it won't only be for the Dominican students in Cuba, but those who study in Morocco. We have a few in Morocco. We also have those in China who receive the monthly allowance from the government. So we'll be increasing this. They gave me a range. So I appointed them as my advisors at the meeting, and they gave me a range. But they're very, very determined students. Like everywhere else, I mean, there are challenges, and they go for the challenges. But they're determined to go through the program and to complete it. There are some who will be coming back as specialists. One from River Sirik, one from Granby, well, two from Granby, who will be coming back and to make a contribution, and they're very excited. And Dr. Mark, they've told me that they have no difficulty in going to the out districts. They would like to go to Marigot and to Portsmouth to work, so which is important and so on.
Congratulations to you, Mr. Prime Minister. In the Vacas constituency, history will have it that there were two leaders. One, Ioli Bla, who has done his contribution to Dominica, and yourself. I would like you to speak on to your constituents, because for you to become Prime Minister or Parliamentary Representative, the people of Vacas have to really elect you in and to become Prime Minister. I would like you to speak to the people of Vacas, really telling them how you feel about they trusting you and you bringing Dominica the way it is today?
Well, the Bakers constituency is, I don't think we can compare that constituency with any constituency anywhere in the world. Anywhere in the world. You have the most sincere and committed and supportive people you can find anywhere in the world. I have not had a political meeting in that constituency since January 2000. And every election we've had an increase in votes. It speaks to the commitment of the people there. So they have never let me down, and they're always my source of strength and motivation, always. So no matter what happens around the world, when I go to my constituency, I am at peace, and it speaks to the commitment of the people. And very sincere. They don't play games. If they're with you, they're with you. They don't play games with them. And very sincere people. And so this award is really for them in large measure, for them. And I'm speaking of every strata of the community in terms of the demographics, age demographics, the senior citizens, the middle age, and especially the young people. The young people are certainly solidly with me always, yeah. But the reality is we've transformed this constituency. We're not here to talk about the constituency today, but certainly we transformed this constituency and more to come. One more question.
Yes, Prime Minister, did you discuss the U.S. trade embargo on Cuba during your visit? And as Dominica advances plans for an international airport, what is going to be the future of this Douglas Charles Airport? Thank you very much.
I'll take your last question first. As a matter of fact, somebody asked me this question this week. I think, well, certainly the building can be used as some training facility for sure. There'll be ideas that will come up. But for me personally, especially for the young people, I wouldn't mind using the runway as a track for car racing and motorbike racing and so on. And it will be away from the roads and so on. So a lot of these guys in Bath Estate and Roseau and elsewhere who normally want to use the road in Bath Estate and close the road, and there'll be opportunities for them to come up here. And because there are a lot of Dominicans who go to different islands to participate in bike races and so on. So we'll have an opportunity to host our own races in Dominica. So that will be, this is not a cabinet decision yet. You know, I must give my personal views on this. That let us get into the car racing business and the motorcycle racing business in a safe environment and so forth. Okay? The first question, I mean, our position on calling on the United States to remove the embargo on Cuba is not an anti-America position. And that's the confusion people have. It's not an anti-America position. Clearly, the entire world, as a matter of fact, at the United Nations consistently, for the last 10 or so years, only 2 countries have voted against the removal of the embargo against Cuba. That is the United States and Israel. So the entire world, and if you do a poll in the United States of America, you'll find that the majority of American citizens will tell you that this embargo should be removed. So it's an issue of injustice and the need for the Cuban people to really be afforded the opportunity to be part of the world system, because you know everything goes for the US dollar, the SWIFT code and all these things. And to be part of the mainstream economic system. And if you look at what Cuba has been able to do under the embargo, in terms of its, in areas of science, and especially health sciences, the deployment of people throughout the world, especially in disaster times. A lot of young people do not know Cuba played a huge role in the apartheid period, in supporting Nelson Mandela and the ANC. Cuba helped in Angola. to independence. Cuba helped in what was called Rhodesia, now Zimbabwe. You know, and all of the African states benefited from Cubans' contribution to their independence and their fight for self-determination. And here in the Caribbean, every single country, if you were to remove Cuban-trained doctors and Cuban doctors from the health system of every Caribbean country, with no exception, the health systems will collapse. I'm saying Cuban-trained, not Cuban doctors, but Cuban-trained citizens of the Caribbean who were trained in Cuba. If you were to withdraw the services, the health system will collapse. And when you look at the sheer value of those scholarships, you can understand the contribution that Cuba is making to our countries. And we are not in the CARICOM supporting Cuba on their call, on our call to remove the embargo because of what we received. No. We are doing so as a matter of principle. As a matter of fact, this year will be 50 years since CARICOM-Cuba relations with the pioneers, Barbados, Jamaica, Trinidad and Tobago, and Guyana, defying the international order at the time and establishing relations with Cuba. So 50 years of relationship that we've had within CARICOM. And the reality is, if you have a brother who is in difficulty, what do you do? You know? And if you have a brother who's been oppressed, what do you do? What do you say? Okay, so it's not an anti-America position. It's a matter of justice and fairness. And that's all. As a matter of fact, this afternoon we have no meetings. I have to leave in a while. CARICOM has a meeting with the Vice President of the United States on a number of issues there today. Okay.
Thank you, Prime Minister, and thank you to the members of the press for your questions and for being here 2 days running. We appreciate it. Honorable Austria, Honorable Prime Minister, thank you for your presentations, and to all of you, thank you for being here to receive the Prime Minister home. Do find your way safely back to Rosa. Thank you, and good afternoon.
You know, the Prime Minister who arrived just about a little above an hour ago, the Prime Minister arriving from his trip in Cuba, where of course he received the major recognition from Cuba. The recognition coming from the government of Cuba. Prime Minister just ending his press briefing. A number of government ministers around, dignitaries and so on around. And that press conference still has just ended. And as it was said earlier, the Labour Party now will have a ceremony a little later in the day at Windsor Park Stadium.
And the press conference was very, for me, very informative in terms of the kind of information from the questions that were asked by the press to the Honourable Prime Minister. I loved your last question that you asked in reference to the embargo, and the question was well answered in reference to making people know who are the pioneers of the region, who actually started the whole process in the region for the removal of the embargo. And the Prime Minister made it very clear that the embargo removal, asking of the embargo removal, is not an anti-American slogan, but that of the kind of relationship that the Caribbean have actually built with Cuba. Cuba is part of the region. It's a Spanish country, but it's part of the Caribbean region. And so the kind of support that they have given to us in the Caribbean, as the Prime Minister make it known, that we can't even put a dollar value to it, you know, and made mention of the science of the doctors that are here in the region, in every country of the region. He was very clear as to if they are to remove their services, what effect it would have been to the Caribbean.
So, Cecil, here is the Agriculture Minister and the MP for the Wesley constituency, not so far from where we are.
Was the delegates
abroad. Right. So, good afternoon to you, Agriculture Minister Fidel Grant. Good afternoon to you.
How are you, Curtis?
I'm not too bad at all. How are you doing?
No, I'm doing well, thanks.
Right. So you had first-hand view and first-hand information on what happened in Cuba. Could you just at least, relieve what you saw in Cuba, the moment as you saw it? What was it like for you in Cuba?
It was an absolute honor to stand side by side with the Prime Minister just before he received this recognition. This recognition, Curtis, it reconfirms what we already know, that we have a dynamic leader in that of Honorable Roosevelt Skerrit. Over the last 14 years, we have seen his leadership through trying times. I mean, he has been challenged politically, through natural disasters, the economic crisis, and I mean, recently the pandemic, and we have all come out triumphant through these times. The Cuban people remain humble, they remain respectful, they remain loving, and they remain determined. And from the moment the Prime Minister got to Cuba, you could see that love, you could see that admiration that they showed to him. I mean, it's an absolute honor to have been part of the delegation. I mean, but more importantly, it's an absolute honor to be serving in a cabinet with someone like Honorable Roosevelt Skerrit. We met with the various ministries, as he said. We'll give an update to you on that as it relates to agriculture and what we have planned. We are expected to sign a new cooperation agreement with the Ministry of Agriculture in Cuba in the coming weeks, and that will be something significant, as you heard from the Prime Minister, in terms of our propagation. It was also an honor for me as I met some of my students from my constituency who are studying in Cuba. But all in all, Curtis, it was an excellent trip. It was a humbling experience for me to be with the Prime Minister, and it is something to be remembered. So on behalf of myself, my family, but most importantly, the constituents of the Wesley constituency, I extend congratulations again to the Prime Minister. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Agriculture Minister Fidel Grant. So, Cecil, people have still remained in this facility.
There are still people outside waiting for his arrival,
right?
Or waiting for him to get out.
Yeah.
And so, Curtis, Fidel Grant himself was very humble, as he said that it was a great moment for him standing side by side, with the Honorable Prime Minister just before receiving that honor. And so, as Dominicans, we too will be very much honored, and we're very much elated that the people of the Republic of Cuba and that of the government of Cuba were able to give back to Dominica. They have been giving us quite a lot, but this time again they have given us an award to show of the kind of commitment that Roosevelt Skerrit has from humanity.
In one of your questions, you mentioned the people of Vacas and the importance of this award to the people of Vacas. That was one of the things that you highlighted, and the Prime Minister saying in response to you that this award is also for the people of Vacas. I thought that, to me, remarkable.
That was very important, because before he becomes the Prime Minister, before he becomes the parliamentary representative, people must have confidence in the individual. And the people of Vacas are the first set of people who decided that they have a great person in the person of Roosevelt Skerrit, and to give him the opportunity first to become parliamentary representative. And we know that he became parliamentary representative in 2000, January 2000. And from this moment, he still is the parliamentary representative. And I'm sure that the people of the constituency, Thibault, Vacas, Penville, they are very much happy for the award. And as you heard the Prime Minister mention that this award is for the people of Vacas. And for me, that is of importance to tell the people of Vacas, thank you for the confidence that has been placed in me. Thank you for allowing me to serve you. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to make Dominicans know exactly what we encompass in the community or in the constituency of Vacas.
Cecil, we're going back to Master Control in a short while, but Cecil, when Mr. Austri, the Housing Minister, spoke, Senior Minister Austri, he said that the Prime Minister is going to be there for the long haul. What do you know as somebody who would know these things? What do you think?
Well, the Prime Minister has said in many speeches that he is into this thing to serve, to give people the service that is required. And so he said that he thinks he has less time in the service of politics than some of us are aware. And Reginald Austria's senior minister would have been hearing these statements. And so by not only receiving this accolade from Cuba, but by the works, as you heard him say, that he's been in government with the Prime Minister for the past 20 years, but for the past 16 years as Prime Minister, he has worked with him. And so, he based on the achievement of what Roosevelt Skerrit and the ideology of Roosevelt Skerrit, he sent a message, an olive branch, if I could say, to Roosevelt Skerrit to say to him that this thought of saying that you are here or into the political life shorter than we are thinking, that Reggie is saying to him, that we are saying to you from the cabinet, and he was very clear, from the cabinet, from the colleagues that are working with you, that we're going to have you here for a very long time, for the long haul. And I think that is very important because there are a number of ordinary people, there are a number of people who are striving and who want to strive further, that they place the confidence in Roosevelt Skerrit. And because people like Reginald Austria and the other ministers are hearing that, they will send the message to Roosevelt Skerrit that, hey, there is a need. Not that there isn't any other person in there, but from the experience that you have gathered, from the experience that you have been able to put on the table, that we are saying to you that we need you to rethink. And by rethinking, we are saying to you, you need to stay a bit longer with us.
Well, we are not going to stay here for any much longer. We are going to head back to Master Control Studio 1. That's the position here at the Douglas Charles Airport. On behalf of Cecil Joseph, Wheelchair, and Dennis, the guys who all made it happen, really. This is a new young team at DBS of technicians, and you call it, they have it. And certainly we appreciate the work.
Talent.
Yes, we appreciate
ability, confidence. You know, these guys have shown, you know, radio into a different realm.
Yes.
Many times people tend to think that radio is audio, but we are saying to the rest of Dominica that radio at this time is not only audio, but we are also video. And that's why I made the point yesterday, Curtis, that we are calling on the public that we are giving the service of video, whatever type of service that you want, whatever type of outside broadcast that you require. We are also giving that service, not only in audio, but that of video. And you can see how clear we are. We can see the kind of work that they are doing. And so, by virtue of this, we are saying to our listening public out there, and those who are actually viewing, that we're not doing this as a part-time, we're doing this as a permanent structure in DBS.
So full marks to Dennis and Wheelchair.
And Dean.
Led, of course, by Dean Thomas. I was going to get to Dean. Led by Dean Thomas, with tremendous support from our friend from Salisbury.
Yes, not forgetting Denzel
Shillingford. Denzel Shillingford. Tremendous team in the technical department of DBS Radio. And we thank them for all the work that they do.
And we need to give accolades also to our former accountant, Mr. Jefferson Carbon, who himself, at our beginning period, and Derrickson Baptist, at the very beginning, actually helped in ensuring that we reach where we have been, in ensuring that people get the kind of service in video from DBS.
Well, let's thank all our listeners. Let's hope that they got the broadcast very clear and clean. We want to thank all those who tuned to DBS during the period. We want to ask you to stay with us. A little later, we go to the
stadium, forecourt at the stadium,
for another function, of course, hosted by the Dominica Labour Party. So that's it from the Douglas Charles Airport. Let's return you to Master Control, Studio 1 and DBS Radio.
DBS Radio now brings to you professional and quality live streaming services for all your funerals, special occasions, and events. Contact us today at 448-3282 or 448-3283 or email us at dbsradio@cwdom.dm. DBS Radio, your new era in broadcasting. Contact us today.